Hello, friends, followers, and fellow realtors. Welcome to the Waves podcast created by the Highland Lakes Association of Realtors. We designed this podcast for realtors to help innovate, educate, and elevate their real estate practice, one ripple at a time. Our goal is to help navigate the waves of the industry and dive into local trends, topics, and beyond by interviewing experts that add value to our mission. Think of us as your proverbial life jacket to keep you afloat in these crazy times. We hope to make a splash in your day.
All right, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Michelle Griffin, realtor here in the Highland Lakes area. We talk about everything that impacts home ownership, property values, and our community. Today's episode is especially important for homeowners and anyone thinking about buying in Burnet County. We're talking about schools, growth, and something we all care about, property taxes. Joining me today is Dr. Peña, Superintendent of Burnet CISD. We'll be breaking down the upcoming bond, what it means for our schools, and how it may impact homeowners. Dr. Peña, thank you for joining us today. Could you briefly introduce yourself and your role at Burnet CISD?
Sure. I'm Aaron Peña, and I am in my third year now as the Superintendent of Burnet Consolidated ISD. And my role really is to support the systems that help make our students successful, while at the same time making sure that we're responsible with the community resources entrusted to us.
All right. What excites you most about leading Burnet schools right now?
I'm really excited about the momentum that is building within not only our schools, but within the community too. There are great things happening in our classrooms every day. And we're really excited about the support that we feel from the community. When I first arrived, that's one of the things that I noted, that our community supports our schools in a very powerful way. You see green all over the
You do.
The place.
That's something that we appreciate about the community too when we moved here.
Absolutely. And so I'm just really excited about the future opportunities for our students. We have 10 CTE programs of study, which all that means is that we just provide a lot of avenues for students to graduate from high school and go out and do the things that they love. And so I'm really excited about those opportunities and more to come.
All right. So what are you seeing, talking about students and folks moving into the community, what are you seeing in terms of new families moving into the district?
So for a while we were flat with our enrollment. And so this year we've seen a little bit of a spike. And what makes me again, going back to what I'm excited about, something else I'm excited about is we had a jump in our early childhood numbers. And so that's one of the things that you want to really pay attention to. Are the younger cohorts of kids, are they growing?
So the early childhood, what ages is that? How does that work with the public school system?
So pre-kinder and kindergarten, we saw our numbers increase at those grade levels. And so for a while, we hadn't seen that. And so we think that those cohorts are growing. And so hopefully we'll continue to see that. But really, it's throughout the entire, all grade levels saw a little bit of a bump this year. And so we know that growth is coming. You can remember years ago, Georgetown had a lot of growth. They were one of the largest growing areas in the nation. Of course, right now we're seeing that with Liberty Hill. And so we're watching the Bertram area in particular and paying attention to that side of our district, our eastern side. And we're seeing new families coming in. And again, it just gives us opportunities to make sure that we're doing right by those students today and future students.
Tying that into real estate, we've seen some development in the Burnet and Bertram areas as far as smaller subdivision homes that are really geared towards those young families. So that seems to make sense that we have a lot of those younger families with that younger age kid moving into the area. From your perspective, how important are strong schools to attracting new residents and supporting property values?
Well, I think the community and the school systems have a symbiotic relationship. And really, when you see strong communities, you're always going to see strong schools are right there as well. As a matter of fact, most families look to the schools and the school system when they're deciding what community they're going to move into. And so I think it's of the utmost importance to have both a strong community that's partnered with a strong school system.
All right. Let's segue into the bond. Let's talk some about that. The 2026 Burnet CISD bond election that's coming up. Could you tell us some of the key projects that are included in this bond?
Yeah, absolutely. That's been on my mind a little bit lately.
A little bit?
Absolutely.
A lot,
yes,
maybe?
Yes, and been talking a lot about it. So yes, I think the best way to start is it's going to be broken into two propositions. Proposition A is 133 million. That's the largest part. And in Proposition B is 2 million, and that's for technology, refreshing technology for our students and our teachers.
So let me interrupt you for just a second. Could
Sure.
you explain just real briefly, why do we need two different propositions?
And
Why
so-
can it not be all in one?
So the law specifies that certain things need to be on their own proposition. And so we heard from our bond counsel, this is a really good way to understand it. So imagine taking a school and flipping it upside down and shaking it. Anything that falls out needs to be on its own proposition. And so
Okay.
those laptops would certainly fall out. And so those have to be on their own proposition. It's just a Texas law. And so Proposition A can be all in one proposition. Those are the bulk of the projects.
Okay.
And the largest of those is the Burnet Middle School project, which would be a brand new 900 capacity, expandable to 1,200 in the future if there would be a need for that, but a 900 capacity academic building. And so this would have a brand new flexible performance space. It would have brand new classrooms, library, the cafeteria, special education, and elective rooms. All of those would be in this new building. Now, if you imagine Burnet Middle School, looking at it from an aerial view, looking down, there's 4 buildings. The first 2 buildings, we call one of them the Millennium Falcon building because it's shaped like the Millennium Falcon. It's circular. That was built in the early 1970s, and it opened up in 1975. Right next door to that, Building B is the oldest gymnasium, also built at that same time. Those 2 buildings would be demolished in this plan. The next buildings, Building C and D, were built in the early 1990s. And so what architects call that is they have good bones. And so those buildings would be renovated, heavily renovated, and those contain our fine art spaces and our athletic spaces. So the gyms, the locker rooms, the dance halls, the dance room, the band halls, and all of these spaces would be heavily renovated. But another key piece to this plan would be that the new academic building would connect all the buildings together. Right now, those 4 buildings are separate buildings. Students go in and out all day long in outside of buildings. In this plan, they would be under the same roof in one cohesive building.
Which I imagine that's a big security issue these days, something that we have to consider, unfortunately. But having
Yes.
everything under one roof obviously seems like it would be a more secure situation for our students
Yes.
and our staff as well.
Definitely. So in the 1970s, times were different, and the security and safety requirements and expectations were just very different than they are now in 2026. So you're absolutely right. That would be one of the main focuses of this project. And then the second of the larger projects would be at R.J. Ritchie Elementary. So we have 3 elementary schools. Shady Grove Elementary has a capacity of 750 students. We, at the last bond, 2021, brought the capacity of Bertram Elementary up also to 750 students. And so R.J. Ritchie's capacity is still 600. And so this plan would add space or add classrooms in R.J. Ritchie. So when you pass R.J. Ritchie Elementary, you probably think it's one building. In fact, it's not. It's 2 separate buildings, but the hole in the middle, that gap in the middle, is connected by a roof. And so in that space, we call it the dog pound. And so it's sort of this semi-outdoor space. And when it's 100 degrees outside, it is hot in the dog pound.
Right.
When it's freezing outside, it is freezing in the dog pound. And so that's not real classroom space. That would be reconfigured and redesigned, as well as some of the other portions of the building, to just be one cohesive building, adding classrooms, so that, again, we can look to the future and potentially delay the need to build an elementary school number 4 with the R.J. Ritchie project.
Okay. What problems, specific problems, we've covered some of this, but what problems is this bond trying to solve for the district?
So, and real quick, before I get to that, I forgot to mention the Bertram Elementary project. So the last bond, one of the things that wasn't done was the front entryway. So one of the things that we like to have in schools is a secure entryway, but with visibility. So that receptionist who sits at the front of our schools is a very key person. They need to be able to see who's coming in the building and potentially make a split-second decision. And so we want to have that for Bertram Elementary, and so we would redesign that front entryway at that school as well. But the problem that we're trying to solve, or I'll phrase it this way, the challenge that we're trying to address is obviously safety and security, like we mentioned already on some of our campuses, but we want to be ready for the future. We know growth is coming, and school districts that start getting into a fast growth, and in some situations even hyper growth, it's difficult for those school systems when they're building new buildings to turn around and address their existing buildings, buildings that were built decades before. And so that's something that we want to do now. We want to address the over 50-year-old building, which we have at the middle school, and we want to also look at capacity and make sure that we have room to grow, so that we can slowly, as a community, decide when and if it's time to build brand new facilities and brand new schools.
So getting out in front of the growth now to help preserve this lower tax rate, passing this bond.
Yes, absolutely. It does help to try to be prepared before growth comes at a fast pace. And so right now it's slow enough for us, just like you mentioned, to get out in front of it and plan accordingly.
Okay. So how were these priorities? There's a lot of priorities, obviously, that have gone into this and a lot of thought. So how were those determined? Was there community input with these?
Yes, there was community input quite a bit. We formed a committee. We called it the Facilities Advisory Committee, and they were doing just that, advising the school board on what should we do with our facilities now. And this was made up of over 50 individuals. We had community members from all age groups. We had parents, staff members. We even had some students on the committee, and they worked and poured over information. They got a lot of financial lessons. As you can imagine, the school finance system is quite complicated. And so we went over tax rate information. We went over building assessment information and feedback. And so these projects are the result of their work that they did over the fall and into the winter.
So it sounds like there was a great representation of different ages and different people in different places and parts of the community that had some input into this. So it wasn't just parents with kids in school. It was all ages and groups.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We had folks from our senior community. We had young people, so from high school seniors to the 65 and over senior group, and everybody in between.
Okay. This is a question that I think has been on everybody's mind. What would happen if the bond does not pass?
Well, if the bond does not pass, we would have some of the needs still there. For example, we have some roofing work that would still need to be done. We would still need to replace some of our oldest buses. We are going to need land out on, again, like I mentioned, on the Bertram side of the district, out towards our eastern boundary. And so all of these things are things that would still need to happen. We would watch carefully our growth and see, and hopefully we wouldn't have to do any kind of rezoning, but all of these things would be on the table, and we would have to make sure that the highest needs are met first. And so right now I can say that we've got some roofs that need to be replaced, some HVAC systems that need to be replaced, and so things like that would have to happen, but they would come out of the M&O side. That would come out of the just the regular operating budget. So
okay.
it would put a little bit of a squeeze on that bucket. I like to say that the state puts us on a fixed income when it comes to the operating budget, and so it would, but we would still have those things we would have to get done.
Right. All right, let's segue into talking about property taxes. That's one thing that our membership is always kind of keeping an eye on, and talking with our clients and affiliate members about that. One of the biggest concerns we hear from homeowners is property taxes. So can you explain how school bonds affect property taxes?
Yes. So when you go out for a bond, there's three options. Sometimes the school district might have to raise the property taxes, and often, as it is in our case, you actually can raise the funds without raising the property tax, and that's what the situation is with Burnet CISD. And then every now and then, sometimes school districts, especially if you're growing very fast, you might be able to lower the property tax. However, with those three situations, we still have to include words on the ballot that kind of create confusion. It has to say this is a property tax increase, and it's specified by law. It has to be at the very top of our ballot, and it has to be in all caps. And so homeowners are going to see that on this ballot. But we have two sections, or two buckets, if you will, of the tax rate. Like I mentioned earlier, our operating budget is the maintenance and operations portion of the tax rate. But what we're talking about today with bonds is the interest and sinking. That's the debt service portion of the tax rate. We are at 19.5 cents with the INS tax rate, and it's been at 19.5 cents since 2019. So for 8 years now, and going on over 8 years, we've had the same exact INS tax rate. And what I like to tell people, just to kind of help them understand and I guess raise their confidence, is when we were going out for the 2021 bond, the message was the same. It was structured in such a way that the INS tax rate was not going to be raised. So in 2020, it was 19.5 cents, 2021, and even today. And yet we passed a 2021 bond, and the tax rate stayed exactly the same. So now I'm out there and I'm preaching it again. I'm saying the same thing. This 2026 bond is also structured so that the tax rate does not go up. It's 19.5 cents today. If the bond passes or does not pass, it will be 19.5 cents down the road as well. And so the reason we're able to do that is because of years of paying down debt early, as well as or a combination of years of paying debt down early and our economy just growing and our local tax base growing. And that gives us the opportunity to raise the funds for the projects that were recommended to the school board while staying within the same tax rate.
Great explanation. You already answered my next question about clarifying how that works, that this will not raise the increase the tax rate. Where can listeners go to learn more about the bond and stay informed?
The best place would be to go to the Burnet CISD Bond website, and it's just that, burnetcisdbond.net. It has lots and lots of information. It has tax information, just like I talked about. It has an FAQ as well, where lots of questions that people have that we know people wonder about, they're already answered on that website. And it even has a tax calculator, so you can go in there and put in your own numbers, and it'll help to estimate what your taxes would be for the debt service tax rate with or without the bond. So we've got lots of information out there. Again, burnetcisdbond.net.
Okay, great information. Do you have a final message for voters?
Yeah, I sure do. So one of the things I want to make sure people understand is, I mean, at the end of the day, people have to go to the polls and do what they feel is right. And we're not encouraging them to vote in one particular way or the other, but what we are encouraging people to do is to get out and vote. We want people to be informed and make sure that they have their questions answered, but definitely we want people to participate.
All right. Well, I want to remind everybody, early voting, you don't have to wait till May 2nd. There is the election on May 2nd, which is a Saturday, but early voting starts on April 20th and runs through the 28th. So there's plenty of opportunity to get out and vote. Dr. Peña, thank you again so much for helping us better understand how our school district and property taxes work. It's incredibly valuable information for our community, for our members, and for our clients that we can put out there, and we certainly appreciate your time today. Thanks for listening, and we'll see y'all next time.